On Christmas, my sister humiliated my daughter in front of everyone. You shouldn't get presents, you're just adopted, and gave her a DNA test wrapped as a gift. Her kids laughed, and I decided to stop paying for their education. Now she's crying for help. My name is Juan, I'm 42, and I'm an accountant. I've been married to Lisa, my best friend in rock, for 15 years. Years ago, a car accident changed our lives. Lisa became infertile due to her injuries, and after failed treatments, we decided to adopt. That's how Emma, our daughter, came into our lives at age 5. She's a vibrant, dark-skinned girl with a huge heart, now 16 and the center of our world. But not everyone in my family loves her like we do. This past Christmas, my sister Laura crossed an unforgivable line. Laura, 38, has always been difficult. She has 2 kids, Diego, 15, and Camila, 13, who've learned her cruel ways. We were never close, but I tried to keep the peace. Laura was close to our late grandfather, who held racist views we dismissed as old-fashioned back then. I now see those ideas stuck with her, reflected in how she treats Emma. Since Emma joined our family, Laura's made uncomfortable comments I let slide. When Emma played with Diego and Camila, Laura would say things like, "Careful with the sun, Emma, we don't want you getting darker," or, "Good thing you're smart, because with that color, not everyone will give you chances." Diego and Camila laughed, and though Emma, being young, didn't always understand, I noticed her grow quiet. I thought Laura was just insensitive, not racist. Until now. Laura also made remarks about Lisa's accident, saying things like, "It's sad Lisa couldn't give you real kids," or, "Adopting is nice, but it's not the same." I swallowed my pain to avoid fights. But that Christmas, Laura did something I couldn't ignore. Our house was full, as we always host a family gathering. About 20 people, including my parents, uncles, cousins, and Laura with her husband, Marcos, and their kids. The dinner was great. The kids played, and Emma helped Lisa serve, laughing with cousins. After eating, we gathered to open gifts. Lisa and I got Emma a new phone she'd wanted, excited to see her reaction. Then Laura stood with a wrap box, saying, "Emma, this is from me. Something special." Her tone felt off, but I didn't dwell on it. Emma, thrilled, opened it to find a DNA test kit for tracing ancestry. The room went heavy. Emma looked confused, and Laura laughed, saying with a cruel smile, "It's so you can find your real family, Emma. You shouldn't get gifts like the rest. You're just adopted. With that color, you should know where you really come from. Plus, it'll show what Lisa could never give you." Diego and Camila burst out laughing. Some cousins chuckled nervously. Others stayed silent. My mom, always avoiding conflict, muttered about dessert. Fury surged in me. Emma's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't cry. She whispered, "Thanks, Aunt Laura," and ran to her room. Lisa followed, her face a mix of pain and anger. I confronted Laura, struggling not to yell, "What's wrong with you? Why would you do something so cruel?" She rolled her eyes, saying, "Oh, Juan, don't be dramatic. It was a joke. Emma needs to know she's not your real daughter, and with her color, she should know her place. And Lisa, well, we all know what happened. That was it." I stood and said, "Get out of my house." Marcos tried to downplay it, but I wasn't hearing it. Diego and Camila kept laughing, fueling my anger. Laura grabbed her things, making a scene, saying, "Fine, we're leaving, but don't ask me for anything later." I didn't respond. They left, and an awkward silence fell. My mom tried to smooth things over, but the mood was ruined. Guests left, and Lisa and I were alone. I went to Emma's room, where she stared at the DNA kit like it could hurt her. Lisa held her, telling her to ignore Laura, but Emma was silent. "I'm sorry, little one," I said, sitting beside her. "I shouldn't have let this happen." "It's not your fault, Dad," she murmured. Why does she hate me? Is it how I look? I didn't know how to explain racism and cruelty to a teenager. I promised Laura wouldn't come near her again, but I'd already decided more. For years, I've paid for Diego and Camila's private school. Laura always struggled financially, and when her kids enrolled in expensive school, she asked for help. I agreed, thinking it's what a brother does, despite the hefty cost. But after that night, I couldn't continue. I wouldn't fund the kids of someone who humiliated my daughter for her skin and mocked my wife's pain. That night, I told Lisa my plan. She looked tired but resolute, saying, "Do it, Juan, but brace for Laura's tantrum." She was right. The next day, Emma was calmer but subdued. I called Laura to say I'd stop paying for her kids' school. She screamed, "How dare you? My kids aren't to blame for your sensitive daughter or Lisa's issues. You're selfish." I replied, "You cross a line, Laura. I'm not paying after what you did." She shouted, "You'll ruin their future," and called me heartless. I hung up. The drama started immediately. My mom called, saying Laura was crying, asking how I could be so cruel to my nephews. Uncles texted, saying I was overreacting. Even Marcos asked me to reconsider, but I wouldn't budge. Emma and Lisa didn't deserve that. The following days were tough. Emma returned to school, but was quieter. Lisa and I tried to cheer her up with outings, but the wound lingered. Laura didn't stop. A week later, she showed up at my house unannounced, sobbing, saying she couldn't afford school. Her kids were suffering, and I was a monster. I stayed calm, saying, "Don't ask for anything after what you did to Emma and Lisa." She insisted it was a joke, that she didn't know they'd take it so seriously. "A joke," I said. "Humiliating my daughter for her color and mocking my wife isn't a joke." She screamed I'd regret it and stormed out. Lisa, who overheard, hugged me and said, "You did the right thing." This is for Emma. I don't feel entirely good. Diego and Camila didn't choose their mom, and sometimes I feel bad cutting their support. But then I think of Emma's face that night, Lisa's pain, and it passes. Laura kept texting. Insults one day, pleas the next. The family was split. Some supported me. Others thought I was too harsh. I wasn't sure I was right, but I couldn't stay silent. The days after the fight were a mess. Laura bombarded me with messages, insulting me for stopping school payments, then begging for help with debts. I didn't respond. My decision was final. But Laura didn't calm down. She turned her rage on Emma, escalating from cruel comments to something darker. Emma returned to school after the holidays, but she wasn't herself. Quiet, nervous, the Christmas wound still raw. We drove her to and from classes to keep her safe, but one afternoon, she ran to the car, her clothes soaked with white paint stains, tears streaming. Barely able to speak, she told me something that boiled my blood. Laura had waited outside her school, where kids gather after class. As Emma passed, Laura jumped out her car, threw a can of white paint on her, and yelled, "This way you look more like us, but you'll never fit in." Some kids laughed. Others stared, and Emma, humiliated, ran to the car as Laura drove off laughing. I couldn't believe it. This wasn't just harassment, it was assault. Lisa trembled with rage when she saw Emma, saying, "This is too much, Juan. We can't let her continue." That night, after Emma slept, I went to the nearest police station to report Laura. The officer said without concrete evidence, videos, witnesses, they couldn't do much. I left feeling powerless but determined. If I wanted justice, I needed proof. From that day, I documented everything Laura did. I bought a small camera for Emma's backpack to record if Laura reappeared. I asked Emma to tell me every detail, no matter how small, and to keep anything Laura gave her. Lisa and I logged every message and call from Laura. It wouldn't be easy, but I wouldn't let my sister keep hurting my daughter. Laura didn't stop. After the paint incident, she showed up at Emma's school almost daily. Sometimes she stayed in her car, staring to unnerve Emma. Other times she got out shouting things like, "You're not part of this family. Go where you belong." Once, Emma said Laura left a note in her locker. "You'll never be one of us. Disappear." Emma was so scared she didn't want to attend classes, and her grades dropped. Seeing my daughter so broken crushed me. I tried talking to Laura once more, calling to tell her to stop or face consequences. She laughed, saying, "I'm not doing anything illegal, just telling your adopted kid the truth." I hung up, her voice seared in my mind. Lisa and I adjusted our routines to always be with Emma after school, but we couldn't watch her constantly. Laura seemed to know exactly when to strike. We spoke to the school, but it didn't help much. The principal said she'd monitor Emma during class, but couldn't control what happened outside. My parents were no help either. My mom, as usual, downplayed it, saying, "Laura's stressed. She doesn't mean it." My dad told me to handle it like a man. Frustrating, but not surprising. The family remained divided. Some backed me. Others said I was too hard on Laura. But I couldn't back down, not after what she'd done to Emma. About 2 weeks after the paint incident, Laura struck again. Emma was with friends when Laura approached, yelling, "Look at your skin. You'll never be like us." Luckily, Emma's backpack camera recorded it, and her friend Carla filmed it on her phone. When Emma showed me, I felt relief and rage. I finally had solid evidence. That week, we found another note in Emma's backpack. "Leave before something worse happens." We kept it carefully. With the videos, notes, and Laura's message screenshots, I returned to the police station. This time, the officer took it seriously, reviewing the evidence and my account of the paint incident. "This is harassment, and the paint could be considered assault," he said. He took Laura's details, assuring me they'd investigate and question her. I left with mixed feelings. Relief that we were acting, but fear that Laura wouldn't vanish easily. That night, we explained everything to Emma. She seemed relieved but still scared, asking, "What if Aunt Laura gets angrier?" I promised we'd keep her safe, though I worried too. The police searched for Laura, but finding her wasn't easy. Marcos claimed she left town for a few days, but I didn't believe him. I knew she was hiding something, and this was far from over. A week after I submitted the evidence, the police found Laura hiding at a friend's house outside the city. She tried playing the victim, claiming it was a misunderstanding and I was targeting her, but the videos, notes, and Emma's testimony were undeniable. They arrested her for harassment and assault, holding her in a cell pending trial. For the first time in weeks, I felt we could breathe, but I knew it wasn't over. Lisa and I kept Emma calm as things progressed. She was relieved Laura couldn't show up at school, but nervous, asking, "What if she gets out and comes after me?" I promised that wouldn't happen, though I feared what Laura might try. The trial was set for a few days later, expedited by the clear evidence. We worked with a lawyer, Mr. Vargas, who organized everything. The videos of Laura yelling at Emma, the threatening note, message screenshots, and Carla's testimony. We also include a statement about the paint incident, which Vargas said was key to proving Laura's actions were racially motivated. But before the trial, something unexpected happened. One afternoon, Diego and Camila showed up at our house alone, faces red from crying. Diego, usually arrogant like his mother, could barely look at me. Camila, trembling, said, "Uncle Juan, please don't let them put Mom in jail. We're so sorry. We didn't know she'd do all this." Seeing these kids, who joined Laura's taunts, now begging for mercy, stirred something in me. Camila added, "Mom's not okay, but we don't want to lose her. Please, tell the judge not to lock her up." Their tearful eyes made me waver. I thought of how hard it must be for them, losing their mom's support. I'd paid for their school for years, watched them grow. Part of me wanted to drop the charges, give them a chance. Lisa, overhearing from the living room, put a hand on my shoulder. She didn't speak, but her look reminded me why we were doing this. I thought of Emma's fear, the paint streaking her clothes, the nights I heard her cry. I couldn't let Laura walk free after all that damage. But I didn't want to destroy Diego and Camila either. I told them, "I'll think about it. Don't cry, Camila. We'll talk to the lawyer and see what can be done." It wasn't entirely true, but I didn't want them to break down. They left, and I didn't sleep well that night. I talked to Lisa, who was firm. "I know it hurts to see them like that, Juan, but Laura can't stay free. If she faces no consequences, she'll never stop." She was right. The next day, I told Vargas we were moving forward. I wouldn't drop the charges, though the decision weighed on me. The trial came quickly. The courtroom was cold, with gray walls and a heavy air. Emma didn't want to attend, so Lisa stayed with her. I went with Vargas, carrying all the evidence. Seeing Laura in the courtroom, handcuffed and defiant, sparked both anger and sadness. She didn't look remorseful, just mad to be there. Vargas presented our case calmly but forcefully, showing the videos, reading the note, and describing the paint incident as a racially motivated attack. "This isn't just harassment," he said. "It's a hate crime against a minor for her race and adopted status, with intent to cause emotional and physical harm." Laura's lawyer, a nervous young man, tried to downplay it, claiming Laura was stressed from financial issues. Her actions weren't racist, just misunderstood. He called the paint incident a prank gone wrong, and even suggested Emma exaggerated to get Laura in trouble. I clenched my fists, but Vargas had warned me the defense would try anything. The judge, a no-nonsense woman in her 50s, listened intently. When Laura's lawyer finished, she asked, "So your client threw paint at a minor and shouted racial insults by mistake?" His hesitation showed they had nothing solid. Vargas presented a final testimony from Emma's principal, confirming Emma's emotional distress from Laura's harassment. After hours, the judge delivered her verdict. Laura was guilty of assault, hate crime, and child harassment. The sentence: 4 years in prison, with possible review in 2 for good behavior. Laura screamed it was unfair, that I'd ruined her life, as guards escorted her out. I felt unexpected relief. Emma was finally safe. Outside the courtroom, I saw Diego and Camila in the entrance, crying in each other's arms. Marcos was with them, but avoided my gaze. The kids looked at me with pain and anger, but said nothing. I knew they hated me then, and it hurt. Diego and Camila didn't choose their mother, and now they were paying for her mistakes. But Laura had crossed too many lines. On the way home, I called my parents, offering to let Diego and Camila stay with them while Marcos figured things out. My mom, always trying to keep peace, agreed but sounded upset, saying, "I hope you're happy, Juan. You've broken this family." I didn't respond. Not everyone would understand, but I did this for Emma. At home, Emma was watching TV with Lisa. She looked at me and smiled, something she hadn't done in weeks. "Is it over, Dad?" she asked. I nodded and she hugged me. Lisa joined, and for a moment, the weight of months lifted. But I couldn't shake the image of Diego and Camila crying outside the courtroom. They saw me as the villain, and that stung. Still, Emma was at peace, and that came first.